Hello, everyone. In today's reading, a very clear picture is coming through. There was a small but tightly connected group, around 3 to 5 people, who were consistently meeting, communicating, and aligning with one another. You were not just a passing topic, you were the central focus of their conversations. Your name, your energy, your presence kept coming up. There was an intentional effort forming behind the scenes, a plan, a scheme, a calculated attempt to sideline you, diminish your role, or remove you from a position you naturally held. What stands out strongly is that you were being observed much more closely than you realized. People were watching how you moved, how you spoke, how others responded to you. They noticed what you carried, your gifts, your intelligence, your creativity, your influence, your authenticity. And instead of celebrating it, some of them wanted to take it, replicate it, or block it. For many of you, you weren't even competing. You were laying low, staying focused on your own path, minding your business, and choosing peace. Ironically, that quiet confidence and self-containment made you impossible to ignore. Without trying, you became the center of someone else's agenda. What's coming through now is a major shift. This group is no longer unified. The meetings have stopped. The conversations have fractured. The secret coordination has fallen apart. I keep seeing a vivid image. One person running, being chased by 3 to 5 individuals with heavy, negative intent. At first, there's fear, an instinct to escape, to stay ahead, to avoid confrontation. But then something changes. The person stops running. There's a pause, a moment of remembrance. They remember who they are. They reconnect with their inner authority, their spiritual protection, their personal power. Instead of continuing to flee, they turn around. They face what's been chasing them, and with strength, clarity, and conviction, they release something powerful. Truth, boundaries, confidence, divine intervention. The force of it is so strong that everything and everyone that was pursuing them gets blown back, scattered in the opposite direction. Spiritually, that person represents you. You may have spent a long time feeling like you had to stay small, keep moving, stay out of sight, or avoid certain situations or people. But either you've already awakened to your power, or you're right on the brink of doing so. And when that realization fully lands, you will make a move, spoken or unspoken, that causes the entire structure around you to collapse. The group can no longer function the way it once did. Everyone is forced to retreat, reassess, and distance themselves. What's especially striking is the reversal of roles. The leader of the group, the one who initiated the plan, the one who manipulated the others, the one who pulled the strings, is now the one being isolated. They are no longer protected. They are no longer supported. If anything goes wrong, they are the first to be blamed. The very tactics they used on others are now being turned back on them. You went from being positioned as the scapegoat to witnessing the ringleader become the scapegoat. Someone has already been removed or quietly pushed out, and every thread leads back to you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence exposed what was hidden. Your energy disrupted the pattern. These groups, these circles, these dynamics, whether they exist in the workplace, within family systems, friendships, or the community, this isn't new behavior for them. This is a cycle they've repeated before. But this time, something was different. This time, they miscalculated. This time, they ran into someone who couldn't be controlled, silenced, or sacrificed. On a spiritual level, Many of you are approaching a pivotal turning point, a moment where something that has not only been chasing you, but has been woven into your family lineage, attempting to haunt your bloodline, will finally come to an end. This energy has sought access to your children, your loved ones, and even the sacred spaces you hold in your heart. But make no mistake, it stops here. It ends with you. You are the gatekeeper now, the one standing between the past's shadows and the light of your future. This is a time for conscious focus. No more distractions, no more superficial gatherings, no more entanglements that drain your energy. The world may have tried to pull you in different directions, but now the cosmos is aligning to remind you of your true power. The person or energy that set this chain in motion is now facing the consequences. Justice, karmic or divine, always finds its way, and in this moment, the balance is being restored. The universe has a way of redirecting energy, and sometimes it's as literal as someone needing to watch out for that bus. Let's pull an oracle card to gain clarity on what this chapter holds. What emerges is success and growth. This is no coincidence. The reason this group, this circle, this gathering of souls came together is intricately tied to your success, your personal evolution, and your capacity to shine fully. From an external perspective, the world may not fully comprehend what you are cultivating, but it sees the fruits of your labor, the impact of your energy, your discipline, and your vision. Consider the tree as a metaphor for what you are nurturing within yourself. Every seed you plant, every choice you make, every moment of courage and authenticity strengthens this tree. This is your legacy. Its roots grow deep, anchoring you in wisdom and resilience, while its branches reach outward, offering shade, shelter, and support to those who come after you. The tree you are building is not fleeting. It is meant to stand for generations, to offer refuge, inspiration, and stability long after today. Understand this. What you are creating is never just for you. It is for your descendants, your community, and the collective consciousness that is quietly observing and learning from your example. This was always the divine plan, to manifest something so powerful and enduring that it ripples through time. For some of you, the seeds of this purpose were planted long before you became aware of them. God, or the universe, placed these gifts, these talents, these visions within you long before you knew what to do with them. At first, you may not have recognized your own light. You moved through life, following paths that seemed ordinary, unaware of the extraordinary energy residing within you. Then, in a single moment or a series of subtle awakenings, you began to realize your truth, your inherent power, your divine essence, the mission that had been quietly waiting for you to embrace it. And once you turned toward that truth, once you fully stepped into your authentic self, everything that had been chasing you, fear, doubt, interference, and even generational patterns, began to collapse. The transformation you are experiencing is not just personal, it is cosmic. You are breaking cycles, ending patterns that no longer serve your family or your spiritual lineage. You are taking a stand that echoes through time, declaring that your energy, your legacy, and your loved ones will be protected. You are stepping into the fullness of your power, and with that comes the recognition that the world may watch, judge, or even try to intervene. But nothing can stop what is divinely destined, or this may be what you're being called to use now. This is your weapon, but not in the way you once understood weapons to be used. At first, your awareness was the weapon. Your ability to see clearly while others moved blindly protected you. Your peace was a shield. Your restraint kept you safe. Your silence spoke louder than any defense ever could. You didn't have to explain yourself. You didn't have to prove anything. Simply being grounded, unbothered, and aligned was enough. All of that mattered more than you realized at the time. But seasons change, and now your success and your growth have become weapons too. Not weapons of destruction, but of truth, exposure, and inevitability. The very things you cultivated quietly are now visible. And here's the part many people don't prepare you for. What elevates you also illuminates you. Growth attracts attention. Success draws eyes. Alignment makes you noticeable. And not all attention comes from admiration. Some of it comes from insecurity, envy, or fear. Do you understand what's happening now? What's coming through is that many of you are reaching a point where what God placed inside of you is becoming bigger than you. Bigger than your ability to hide it. Bigger than your comfort zone. Bigger than the version of yourself that once preferred to stay unseen. And that's not a mistake. That's maturation. That's expansion. That's the moment where the tree you planted internally has outgrown the soil it started in. That tree has grown beyond you. It's no longer just something living inside your spirit. It's visible in your presence, your movement, your results, and your energy. Wherever you go, whatever space you enter, people can see it. They feel it before you speak. They notice it even when you try to be small. It's like they're looking at you thinking, is that a tree growing out of their head? And the answer is yes. It's impossible to miss now. Whatever took root within you, your calling, your discipline, your integrity, your gifts, has grown too large to hide. Some of you shine in ways that cannot be muted. Your light doesn't ask permission. Your talent doesn't wait for approval. Your strength announces itself without aggression. Your authority doesn't need volume. Even the fact that people shouldn't play with you is understood without you ever having to say a word. And here's where it gets even deeper. Groups are falling apart because your presence no longer allows false alliances to survive. People are talking, yes, but not the way they used to. The same individuals who once gathered in unity to criticize you, undermine you, or use you as a common enemy can't even come together anymore. There are no more meetings, no more collective narratives, no more shared satisfaction in your struggles. They don't celebrate your setbacks because they don't exist anymore. They aren't aligned enough to conspire because their bond was never real. It was built on opposition to you. Once you removed yourself energetically, that glue dissolved. Now they're fragmented, distant, suspicious of one another. Honestly, they don't even like each other now. Those are the conversations happening behind the scenes. So let's talk about the current energy. Without raising your voice, without defending yourself, without seeking revenge, you dismantled an entire group simply by becoming who you were always meant to be. Your growth exposed dynamics that couldn't survive truth. And now, the person who once positioned you as the scapegoat, the one who projected their faults onto you, has become the scapegoat themselves. The roles have reversed, not because you plotted it, but because alignment always rearranges power. What was hidden is now visible. What was falsely assigned has returned to its rightful owner, and you didn't have to lift a finger. The current vibe and energy, Eight of Cups. And wow, this energy is heavy with departure, detachment, and emotional disengagement. What I'm picking up is a very clear sense. Everyone is for themselves right now. People who were once intertwined, connected, and seemingly inseparable are now scattering like leaves in the wind. And that departure is not subtle. It's a clean break. One person in particular is stepping away with full awareness. They're not just leaving quietly. They're throwing up the peace sign, turning their back, and walking away from the chaos, the drama, and the group dynamic that no longer serves them. Here's the thing. This isn't just someone taking a break. This is a dismantling of what was once a collective. The group energy that used to feel so strong, so cohesive, is now fractured. Where there was laughter, chatter, and bonding, often centered around talking about someone or something, the air is now silent and awkward. The dynamic has shifted so dramatically that even the thought of coming together feels impossible. Who would we even talk about now? Is the underlying sentiment. That connection that was once effortless is now strained or entirely gone. Looking at the trajectory, it's clear there was momentum, growth, and shared success at some point. The Three of Coins energy was quietly working behind the scenes. Collaboration, teamwork, agreements, and the slow, steady building of something significant. But here's the catch. This teamwork wasn't always visible. It was subtle, background energy, people working together without fanfare, without the obvious acknowledgement of the rest of the collective. It's the kind of effort that only pays off if everyone stays engaged, aligned, and present. Now, that structure is falling apart. People are walking away. Some voiced their feelings, expressed frustration, and then left. Others said nothing, choosing silence. But that silence carries its own weight. For the person who used to be the center of the group, the one who may have acted as the connector, the scapegoat, or the social glue, this silence is agonizing. Imagine calling, texting, leaving voicemails, and still getting no response. That desperate attempt to reach the group, to rekindle the connection, is met with nothing. No acknowledgement, no validation, just ghosting. And the more they reach out, the more they're reminded that the collective has moved on without them. The repeated imagery here is dismantled. This isn't a slow fade, it's a clean, decisive severing of ties. People left, and it doesn't seem like they'll be coming back. The ones who spoke left statements and walked away. The ones who stayed silent have also created their own exit through inaction. For the person reaching out now, the world feels like it's actively rejecting them. Calls unanswered, texts ignored, and the lingering feeling of, "What did I do wrong?" hangs heavy in the air. But here's the deeper layer, the value in this reading. What's happening behind the scenes is crucial. The Three of Coins isn't just about past collaboration. It's a reminder that structure, teamwork, and foundations can exist quietly before a collapse happens. This energy shows that even when things seem chaotic or disconnected, there's always a framework of effort and contribution underneath. The question is, was it appreciated? Was it aligned with the collective's desires? Or was it overshadowed by ego, miscommunication, or unspoken resentment? There's also a lesson here for anyone observing this energy. Sometimes stepping away is necessary to protect your own emotional well-being. The Eight of Cups signals that walking away doesn't have to be dramatic. It's not always about confrontation, blame, or explanation. It's about realizing that the path you've been on, the group you've invested in, or the dynamic you thought was permanent no longer serves your growth. The peace sign, the turning away, the moving on, it's a conscious act of self-preservation. Now it's coming out because things are finally clearing up. The confusion is lifting, the fog is thinning, and what once felt chaotic is starting to make sense. The group is breaking apart, not because it failed, but because the truth can't stay hidden forever. And now you're able to see it for what it actually was. It started with a promise. I'm gonna put you on. Shorty, I'm gonna put you on. One main person stood at the center of it all. The connector, the voice, the one who positioned themselves as the opportunity, the gatekeeper, the source. And then there was everyone else, the people being pulled in, the ones being influenced, the ones being used. Instructions were handed out, roles were assigned. You do this, you say that, handle it this way. And it went deep, deep emotionally, mentally, spiritually, for everyone involved. Every situation was personal. This wasn't abstract or distant. It touched real areas of life: love, friendships, family ties, work environments, communities, reputations. No matter how it showed up for you, you already know how it unfolded on your end. You felt it, you lived it. But here's the part that matters most. There was one key person who influenced the others. One person who planted ideas, shaped perceptions, and got into people's heads. That person pulled a group together, unified them around a shared narrative, and aimed that collective energy in your direction. That's what you were really facing. Not just individuals, but a coordinated effort, a team. And for some of you, God allowed that group to come against you for a reason. Not to destroy you, not to break you, but to reveal something you couldn't have discovered any other way: how powerful you actually are. 3 to 5 people, 3 against 1. Think about that, not metaphorically, really sit with it. Imagine being outside, minding your business, and suddenly 3 people rush you at the same time. And somehow you take all of them down. You walk away standing. That kind of experience rewires you. It permanently shifts your confidence. You don't move through life the same after that. That's exactly what this situation was designed to show you. These people didn't come unprepared, hard hats on, blueprints out. They were building something, planning, organizing, strategizing. This wasn't emotional chaos. It was calculated. Some were actively trying to set you up: papers, pens, charts, graphs, conversations behind closed doors. This wasn't random, and it wasn't impulsive. I've seen this energy before, and the fact that it's resurfacing now tells me this has been in motion for a long time. Longer than you realized. Longer than you were meant to see at the time. They invested real time and real effort. Look at that. They built an entire structure around this. Do you know how many resources it takes to do that? How many moving parts? How many different skills and talents are required to coordinate something like that? They gathered people with connections, people with influence, people with access. Each person brought something to the table: social reach, information, credibility, leverage. They really went all out, and yet it still didn't work. That's the part you shouldn't overlook. Despite all the planning, the teamwork, the manipulation, the preparation, you're still here, clearer, stronger, wiser. And now, finally, you can see the truth without distortion. What was meant to overwhelm you ended up revealing you. What was meant to corner you ended up sharpening you. So let's pause and really look at the upside here. What's the gift hidden inside this situation? What's the higher lesson trying to reveal itself? Because nothing this intense, this persistent, comes without a reason. Something meaningful has to come from it. And here's what's important. This isn't a one-off message. The same theme has surfaced in the last 3 readings, which tells us this isn't coincidence. This is timing. This is alignment. First, they were actively chasing you, trying to keep control, trying to stay ahead of the truth. Then, when they realized they couldn't maintain the narrative, they started running. And now they're doing everything they can to avoid judgment altogether. This is what avoidance looks like when accountability is inevitable. It's like watching someone desperately try to outrun evidence, like saying, "That wasn't me," while the footage is playing back in real time. Clear angles, matching uniforms, matching helmets. The same voices calling the shots. The truth isn't blurry anymore. It's documented. It's undeniable. There's nowhere left to hide. And that's because the truth has already been seen. The proof is already present. The veil has been lifted, not just for you, but for others as well. So, at its core, this moment is about accountability. Someone is actively trying to escape being held responsible for what they did, what they orchestrated, or what they allowed. But here's the part that matters most. For many of you, this realization brings relief. Imagine knowing, deep down, that someone was working against you in silence, undermining you, twisting perceptions, moving pieces behind closed doors. And then one day, finally, someone sees it. Finally, the story changes. Finally, you're believed. You're no longer painted as the problem. You're no longer questioned for your integrity, your intentions, or your worth. That alone is freeing. For some of you, this has been building for a very long time. Years, maybe even decades. Long stretches of being misunderstood, of carrying weight that wasn't yours, of enduring subtle attacks that chipped away at your reputation, your confidence, or your opportunities. For others, it unfolded more slowly. Quiet sabotage, whispers, people being told not to work with you, doors closing without explanation. Some assumed that if they cut off your access, your support, your resources, you would collapse. But they miscalculated. What they didn't know is that God had already equipped you with tools they could never touch. Strengths they didn't recognize. Resilience you didn't even realize you had until you were forced into survival mode. You adapted. You evolved. You learned how to stand without the things you thought you needed. And in doing so, you became stronger than you ever were before. Every plan they formed in secrecy, every false attachment they tried to pin to your name, every narrative they attempted to control, now has an answer. And not just an answer, but a reckoning. This moment didn't arrive early. It didn't arrive late. It arrived exactly when it was meant to. That's why the message keeps repeating, someone is running. They're dodging responsibility. They're trying to avoid the consequences of their own actions. But avoidance doesn't erase truth. It only delays the inevitable. And the inevitable is this: clarity, justice, and release. This chapter isn't about punishment. It's about balance being restored. It's about the truth standing on its own without you having to fight for it anymore. You've already done the hardest part. Now, you get to breathe. Anyway, this is about rebirth, awakening, and revival. A complete shedding of old skin. A return to self after a long season of distortion. Let me add a few more R words that keep coming through strongly: rebirth, revival, recovery, rest, reclamation, and realignment. All of it is unfolding now, not later. This isn't subtle energy, it's major, life-altering movement. The kind that permanently shifts trajectories. I keep hearing, time is running out. Not in a fearful way, but in a revelatory one. As if the window to course correct, to tell the truth, to make peace with what was done and what was chosen, is closing. The grace period is thinning. What was hidden can no longer be maintained. What was propped up by illusion is collapsing under its own weight. Now let's look at the lower side of this, the part they didn't think through, what should have been considered before alliances were formed, before people were rallied, before narratives were constructed to go against you, before meetings, whispers, group chats, and concerned conversations took place under the guise of righteousness or unity. It didn't hold. The structure fell apart. What started as confidence turned into confusion. What felt like power turned into exposure. Someone lost their partner. A significant breakup or separation occurred, and it wasn't random or unrelated. It was directly tied to your growth and how everything ultimately played out. The results spoke louder than the accusations ever could. Because here's the thing, if the collective truly was as terrible as they were made out to be, if all of the projections, judgments, and distortions were true, then why does God keep favoring them? Why do they keep rising? Why do doors continue opening? Why are they prospering in ways no one anticipated? Why are they suddenly operating in gifts, talents, and abilities that were either underestimated or completely unknown? That's when the cracks begin to form. That's when doubt creeps in. At first, when people come together like this, it feels good. There's warmth. There's validation. There's a sense of belonging. It feels like community. Like we're aligned. We see the same thing. Let's grab food, sit together, talk about what's wrong with them, and bond over it. It masquerades as unity, but it's built on opposition rather than truth. And when it all falls apart, it's not just casual friendships that are lost. Someone lost their person. Someone lost the one who shared their bed, their home, their future plans. Think about how much had to be concealed, how much truth had to be twisted, how many half-truths and justifications had to be maintained. For someone's own partner to finally say, I can't do this anymore. I see boxes being packed, drawers emptied, a shared space being dismantled piece by piece. This wasn't a temporary argument or a passing phase. This was a real commitment, a marriage, a long-term partnership, a life intertwined. And it ended. A full separation, possibly a divorce. And the unspoken truth beneath it all, when the illusion collapsed, when the energy shifted, when your elevation became undeniable, it forced people to confront what they had aligned themselves with and what it cost them. Not everyone was willing or able to sit with that realization. This is why the rebirth is so significant. You didn't just survive, you emerged clarified, restored, and strengthened. And while others are still sorting through the wreckage of choices made in distortion, you're stepping into recovery, rest, and renewal. And it wasn't only because of one person, but when relationships are built on deception, it says a lot about character. It's not just a single misstep or one lie, it's a pattern. And when that pattern is revealed, suddenly the foundation of the relationship feels shaky, unstable, and unfamiliar. You find yourself staring at someone you thought you knew, wondering, Who are you really? Did all of that actually happen? It's disorienting, painful, and can shake your sense of trust to the core. Let's take a moment to talk about kinder spirits, the energy of collaboration, genuine connection, and what I like to call a true team. This is a team not built on fear, manipulation, or false narratives, but on mutual respect, shared values, and authentic support. That word team keeps coming up. Teamwork, connection, people uniting for a higher purpose. Yes, there may have been what felt like a soul bond, a deep connection, but we have to be honest, it was, in many ways, a trauma bond. A trauma bond forms when two people are held together not by truth or trust, but by shared pain, fear, or manipulation. In this situation, one person fed stories about the collective, about us against the world, and the other person believed them, bonded with them, and invested emotionally. But the structure you built was hollow. There was no solid foundation at the center because it wasn't based on reality. It was based on illusion. It was never real. And when the illusions collapse, the fallout is immense. Think about it. This was an attempt to form a team against the collective, but a team built on lies, on deception, could never last. In the end, it collapsed under its own weight. And while it may feel like a failure, this collapse is actually a form of liberation. It clears space for authentic connection, for relationships that are built on integrity, honesty, and mutual care. Now, let's look ahead at the energy for the next 7 to 14 days. This is important. Don't react too quickly. If you're watching this from the outside or are personally involved, this part may hit hard because truth often does. Collectively, the energy I'm feeling here is represented by the death card. And no, this isn't about literal death. It's about endings, transformation, and clearing the old to make way for the new. What's clear is that someone has been pushed out, excluded, or isolated from the group. They've been made the outsider. And when consequences arise, they're the one everyone points to, the one who ends up under the spotlight or thrown under the bus. It's not fair, it's not kind, but this is what often happens in broken group dynamics or relationships built on deception. This chapter is completely over. The group dynamic has ended. Friendships, partnerships, shared projects, and social spaces, all of it is done. A breakup or divorce may already have occurred. Someone has moved out or stepped away, and the old way of being is no longer sustainable. But endings, as painful as they are, make room for rebirth. They make room for relationships that are grounded in truth, for spaces where people can truly thrive, and for a sense of belonging that is mutual and nurturing, rather than forced or manipulative. The takeaway here is profound. Let go of the illusion, even if it hurts. Recognize trauma bonds for what they are. Value the lessons, but do not cling to the broken structures of the past. True team energy, soul bonds, and authentic connections are waiting. But they cannot coexist with deception. And if you focus on alignment, integrity, and honesty in your own life, you'll naturally attract relationships and environments that honor those values. This is someone whose entire life structure has collapsed. Picture having a house, and then imagine it's not just the house. It's the house, the pet, the partner, the friends, the job, the lifestyle, everything. And suddenly, it all falls apart. Now you're forced to relocate, rebuild from scratch, or start completely over. That's exactly the energy here. This person lost everything. This is an ending, full completion, no going back. And on top of that, there's this strong "I'm done" energy, like throwing up the peace sign and walking away. What I'm hearing is, I never thought in a million years this would happen to me. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Emperor. That tells me this person is answering to authority or being judged by it. I'm picking up on demotion energy, termination energy, even removal from a position of power. If this person held a leadership role, like a community figure or someone in office, they've been stripped of that role. Titles are being taken away. Status is being revoked. This could be about you. You came to understand who you truly are, and they never wanted that realization to happen. Because the moment you did, your power would come online. And now, this may be exactly how you're being seen. Remember, we began with success and growth. What's happening now is bigger than you alone. Your evolution can't be hidden anymore. It's visible. It's undeniable. You are in control of yourself. You shape your own path. This is aligned power, rooted in truth and divine connection. And now, this is the version of you they recognize. Picture someone saying, "We need to come together. We need a whole team to stop them." It was easier back when you were smaller, quieter, focused on your own life, before God revealed your true nature to you. It was more comfortable when you were the one running, scared, uncertain, shrinking yourself. But now, you've stepped into who you are. And with that comes the ability to dismantle illusions, disrupt old systems, and cause what no longer belongs to scatter. So yes, someone no longer wants to be near you. At the very least, they don't want to stand in your presence anymore. It's like saying, "With all respect, I'm backing away and leaving you alone." But make no mistake, you have feet, that angel has wings, and accountability is inevitable. Running won't stop what's coming. At some point, it has to be faced. So here's to your success, your growth, your relief, and restoration. And let this be a final reminder. This journey isn't just about discovering your power. It's about remembering it. Remember that there's still more within you. Gifts, strength, and abilities that may not even be fully activated yet. You're just getting started. But when you find yourself with your back against the wall, remember this: you have something growing inside you, something that's reaching a point where it can no longer be hidden or ignored. Your tree, your personal growth, has grown bigger than you, or at least it's heading in that direction. Your power has shifted, it's multiplied, and the very things that used to scare you, now, they're the ones that should be afraid. You feel that? So, use your power wisely, but above all, use it. If you're finding value in this content, consider showing some support by giving a super thanks. It really helps out the channel. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more updates. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next reading.